and we are on with Beth Amodio with us today. She is the founder of One Warm Coat, which is a nonprofit we're going to talk about today. Beth has a pretty accomplished background here, so she's been featured on New York Times, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Weather Channel, Martha Stewart Living. She's been on various podcasts. She founded One Warm Coat in 1992, so that was a while ago, almost 30 years. And she distributed 8.3 million coats. That is a lot across 50 states. 21 million pounds of textile out of landfills. So, I mean, that's amazing. We're going to step right into it today because, yeah, there's so much to cover. Beth, glad to have you on here. If you can tell us briefly about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Sure. So first, let me just clarify. I did not found One Warm Coat. It was founded by our national founder, Sherry Wood, who is now retired and runs a lavender farm in Northern California. I came on as CEO almost 7 years ago. So it's been an amazing 7 years. This is my 7th coat drive season with the nonprofit. And it's a national nonprofit that serves all 50 states and also Canada. We have right now thousands of coat drives live on our map on our website, where anyone who wants to clean out their closets, their kids' closets, their partners' closets, with any gently worn outerwear, not just coats, but hats, scarves, beanies, gloves, mittens, anything that will help to keep someone warm. We love to accept those donations. And there's lots of different coat drives on the map. There are nonprofit organizations where you can drop your items off, but there's also lots of national retailers where you can donate items and get a big discount while you're doing your holiday shopping.
That's great. I'd like to cover why that was started by the founder at first. Like, what was the reason why One Warm Coat got founded in the first place?
Yes. So one woman, she was living in San Francisco, and she had a coat that she thought was just like a really nice coat, and she wanted to make sure it got into the hands of someone who needed it. So she started holding a coat drive in Union Square in San Francisco. And it was, for the first 7 years, it was just a local coat drive that took place on Black Friday every year. And then a friend of hers came and said, this seems like something that would be really wonderful to have available all over the country. Anyone could donate a coat. Anyone could hold a coat drive. Anyone could kind of make an impact in this very tangible but simple way. And so she started reaching out across the country and building the program. And now we work with about 1,500 local nonprofits that are in pretty much every major metropolitan area across the country. And those nonprofits are everything from programs for veterans to programs for low-income preschools, senior citizens, inner city youth, and everything in between.
That's amazing, because in my native Montreal, and I often think about these folks nowadays, but the homeless, I mean, it gets like to minus 30 out there, and yeah, they need like solid coats, else they'll freeze to death. There's a lot of deaths related to that, especially when it gets around minus 30. So at the core clientele, is it the homeless? Is it families in needs that don't have enough to buy a coat? Who's the end customer?
So I would say the largest majority of people that the nonprofits serve are families that are just not making ends meet. They're typically working class families. They're finding that the high cost of gasoline and insurance and rent and groceries, it's just making their budgets really tight. And so being able to afford, coats for everybody in the family is really challenging. There are a lot of our nonprofits that also serve a homeless population, as you mentioned. One thing we've learned about serving population that's experiencing homelessness is that it's not as simple as just providing them a coat like in October when the weather starts to get cold, and then they're good until spring. Typically, when you're serving a population that's homeless, They are often leaving the coats behind if there's a warm day. They're carrying everything they own from place to place. It's easy for the coats to get lost or stolen, dirty, torn, wet. And so a lot of times with our nonprofit partners that are working with that kind of client, they actually need a renewable resource of coats. They need, 2 to 3 coats each winter season for that one client, because it's not like you or I, where I could give you a coat in October and you're going to have that coat for the next 3 years. It's not the same kind of situation.
Right. And maybe I should have started with that, but why did you get into the world of nonprofit? Why not go into profit and make a higher salary, for example?
Yes, I ask myself that sometimes too. No, I specifically chose this career path because I had a passion for changing things and for helping people. I grew up in a family that was super involved in mission work. And even as a kid, my parents were taking me on mission trips with them. And I just found it really fulfilling and knew that that's how I wanted to spend my life. And I feel super grateful that I get to do this every single day. There's never a day when I, quote, go to work and feel discouraged or hate what I'm doing. I love it every day.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, is every day like heartwarming? And it's so funny that we did that podcast because I was in New York not so long ago with Tony Robbins, and I was sick and my body temperature fell and I was cold. So I'm like, yeah, I need to donate to this organization right now because I have like the empathy now. It's like Mr. Always Hot and going shirtless outside in Canada to do Wim Hof breathing. Right, like right now, I know that this can help. So is a day in your life as a CEO always heartwarming, or do you adapt to this sort of and you don't find any fulfillment at some point?
Oh, no, I'm actually emotionally invested in it every day. I think like if someone gets moved to tears, I cry with them. I'm still really emotional about it.
Yeah.
I do sometimes, it's easy to get discouraged because there's always more need than what we can meet. And for example, we survey our nonprofit partners at the end of every winter, and we ask them, did we provide enough coats to share warmth with all of the people who you serve? And the answer every year is always no. Even though we distribute more than 500,000 coats a year, we're still not able to provide free coats to everyone who asks for them or needs them. So that can be discouraging. But on the flip side of that, the really small impact that it can make in somebody's life to just it's not even just about the coat, it's about the kindness and the fact that they feel that somebody is caring for them and sharing warmth, not just physical warmth, but like the warmth of kindness and compassion, I think really makes a difference for somebody who might be having a difficult time. We were just in New York City too. I was in New York City on Giving Tuesday, which was December 3rd, just a couple of weeks ago. And we were doing a coat distribution with one of our local nonprofit partners there called the House of Good Deeds. And we were giving out 1,000 coats to people for free in Alphabet City. So it was like really in a neighborhood where a lot of people are struggling. There's a lot of diversity in that neighborhood. The community was amazing. They were like really supportive of each other and really excited to receive the coats. And I even had one woman who came down without a coat, and it was really cold that day. And she said, I kind of braved the cold to come out here and get this coat, but 2 of my neighbors who are in that building just right over there don't have coats. And so can I take 2 back up to them? So that experience, was just, like you said, very heartwarming. Those kinds of interactions sort of feed your fire to like keep doing this.
Yes, and even before the need for food, a human needs to maintain their body temperature to survive, and you can get sick and so forth. So Yeah, it's very important and heart moving. Do you have some strategies to have enough code for everyone? Do you sometimes have someone that asks for like 5 codes but don't even use them all? Like, what are your strategies to make sure that everyone at the end of the day, especially when it gets very cold, have a code?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it is challenging because, we're not, I sort of say, it's our job to give the coats, right? And then what people do with them afterwards is not our job or even our business. Like, we're there to be sort of cheerful givers. So, when people ask for a coat, I just assume automatically, like, if you're asking me for it, you need it and I want you to have it. And I do feel like there's that great ripple effect of like somebody received a kindness, and sometimes that really comes full circle and it's wonderful to see. So last year, Naz Reid, who is an NBA player for the Minnesota Timberwolves, he reached out to us and said when he was young, he received a coat and he was really involved in the Boys and Girls Club in New Jersey where he grew up. And so he wanted to pay it forward and purchase a coat for every single girl and boy at that organization where he grew up. And so we were able to help him do that. And it's wonderful to, when somebody who has had that kind of life experience is so impacted by it that they then are motivated to try to give back in the same way.
Right. What are your other like partnership strategies? Like my brain is telling me, oh, leave a $5 in the pocket to like greater impact, or I don't know, leave like a verse of the Bible, or leave a Tony Robbins motivational phrase in there. What are innovative ideas that you had to get a greater impact, and also how do you measure that impact and satisfaction? Because yes, you do send surveys to partners, but do you also send surveys to the coach users? Do they have emails, for example?
Yeah, so a couple of things around that. So really, like our main strategy to get as many coats as we can is to try to get as many people around the country excited in holding coat drives. And that could be like with your apartment complex or at your place of work or your place of worship or your neighborhood or even like your basketball team, so, and a lot of kids do it at schools. So we try to get people excited to hold coat drives and give them all the resources they need to do a successful drive. And then they are able to take those coats directly to one of our local nonprofit partners. And in terms of other like bigger coat drives, we do a lot of those too. So right now, every J.Crew store across the country, for example, is holding a coat drive in their store and they're giving a discount. So if you bring in a coat to donate at a J.Crew, you get $25 off a new coat. A number around 100 Dick's Sporting Goods locations are doing that right now across the country. They're giving $20 off of a new coat if you bring in a coat to donate. Mod Pizza across the country is selling gift cards, and $1 from every gift card goes to one warm coat. So getting these national partners who are excited about sharing warm and also kind of offering their customers a fun incentive has been a really great way to boost the number of coats that we're collecting. And then for the individuals, you talked about like giving $5. For the individuals that are holding drives, we do have a really cool software system where when people register, they get their own web page and they can fundraise on that web page. They can also track how many coats they collect. Because our impact statement is really easy to put out there and understand. Every $1 donated warms one person. So it's because we have so many volunteers and just so many amazing partner organizations, we are able to distribute a coat to somebody in need for every single dollar donated.
And how do you make sure to stay lean and competitive with other alternatives? Because even in the nonprofit world, like people have options, right?
Yes.
How do you make sure to stay at the top of your game?
So one of the things that really helps us, for example, we have like the highest rating on every nonprofit measurement website,
Wow.
platinum rating for GuideStar, 4 stars on Charity Navigator. And the thing that really helps us is because we are entirely virtual. So we don't, like you're talking to me, you mentioned you're talking to me in my kitchen. We don't have a headquarters. We don't have an office. So we don't have any overhead. We don't pay utilities or rent or a mortgage. And all of it, none of us commute. Like that's part of we have a really strong commitment to environmental sustainability. And so all of my team members are working from different places around the country at our kitchen tables. And really we're kind of more like matchmakers or air traffic controllers. We never take possession of the coats. So we don't have a warehouse. We don't ever take the coats. We direct the coats from the people that are collecting them directly into their local community.
I love that. Yeah, I'm sold. Just made my monthly donation. I would recommend people to do that as well. Nothing better than monthly recurring revenue for any company out there. How much employees do you have? Is it a big organization? Is it like a lengthy operation, or do you stay lean on that level as well?
We are tiny. We have 4 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. One really cool thing about our team is that we've all been there a really long time. Like we have 1 employee who's been there 10 years, 1 9, I'm 7. We have another one who's 6, which is great. I think, we kind of get here and we love it and we stay. And we're very lean. We rely so much on volunteers, which again helps, that bottom line stay really lean. And it enables us to direct 97 cents of every dollar donated directly to programs.
Love it. Last but not least, have you thought about partnering with others to, for example, distribute food or soup on the same day to stay lean and efficient, or is that not super efficient or convenient?
No, we love doing that. So we really leaned into that during COVID. When everything shut down in 2020, a lot of our nonprofit partners were so small that they weren't able to continue to operate. So we started partnering with other large nonprofit organizations such as Feeding America and Feed the Children, who were staying open because they were distributing food, and sending our coats directly to them to distribute while people were coming to get food. In fact, we've done 3 distributions in New York City with the New York City Food Bank, where the families that typically come there every week to pick up their bags of groceries come to pick up their bags of groceries and also get a coat for everyone in their family. So we absolutely are huge proponents of partnering with other nonprofit organizations to, as you said, like try to keep things lean, no duplication of efforts, and just to ensure that together we're providing all of the needs for the whole person.
Right. You said middle class at the beginning of the pod, and that is quite striking. Do you feel that these people eventually get out of that survivor mode and eventually even pay it forward in society?
I mean, I'd like to think so, right? That's the hopeful way of looking at it. I do feel like a lot of times we do hear from people who are just in a rough patch. It's not like this is always how my life has been and this is always how my life is going to be. It's that they are in a rough patch and they could really use a hand, and not a hand out, but a hand up. And I mentioned before, and I really do believe this, that it's not just about receiving a warm coat so that you can like walk to work or wait at the bus stop with your kid, but it's also about feeling like your community cares about you and someone is wanting to help you out. And you also mentioned putting stuff in the coats, and I love that you mentioned that. I meant to circle back because we do have a project called Pocket Notes, and so we encourage people who hold coat drives to create these little just squares, almost like a Post-it size note. Write something encouraging on it, or even draw a picture and stick those in the pockets of the coats before you drop them off to the nonprofit. And I've personally seen a lot of the people who receive coats reach into the pocket for the first time and find this note and really just be so moved by it, because it adds that like extra human connection, not only for the person who's receiving it, but also for the person who's giving it. I feel like giving is so powerful. It's such a powerful tool for mental health. And when somebody is putting on paper their wish for that person, they're truly feeling empathy for the other human being. And that builds such a strong bridge.
Right. I think I would put as a message like something with stoicism, like focus on the positive actions you can take and all the rest you disregard, right? Because I think lots of us, we sabotage ourselves emotionally, especially in those situations, and we keep on digging our graves further and further. What message would you put in there?
I mean, I would probably just put something about, I care about you and I'm wishing you warmth and happiness. And I'll tell you a little story about pocket notes. My son is a junior in high school, and 2 years ago, a group at his high school decided to do a coat drive with us. And they also put a great big box in the lobby of the high school with a whole bunch of markers and paper. And they asked students to make pocket notes. And they did about 400 plus pocket notes. And, I have 2 teenage boys, so I know what teenage boys can be like. So I decided I probably had better read each one of these notes to make sure that they were appropriate and, not rude. You never know what a high school student's going to say, right? And so I sat down and I started reading through the notes. And I'm telling you something, there was absolutely 0 rude or inappropriate notes in that box. And it really made me have this renewed faith in this generation of youth and their capacity for empathy and kindness.
Yeah, I could use more of that empathy and kindness as a quote unquote serious entrepreneur in B2B business. Last question for you. Any goals with the nonprofit for 2025? What would be your focus? What would change? What would be different for the next year?
So one of my primary focuses heading into 2025 is to build a program we have called the Zero Waste Initiative. And this is a program where we work directly with retailers and wholesalers and manufacturers. And our message to them is, we know you have samples. We know you have overstock. We know you have irregulars. And please don't shred them or incinerate them. We don't want to see those end up in landfills. Let us match those items with a nonprofit that can distribute those to people who need them. And we will even pay the shipping. So we're really focusing on building that program. It has grown exponentially over the last 7 to 8 years, to the point where we've even had years where we've had more than 100,000 items that were brand new donated to us, literally just from people cleaning out, like large entities cleaning out their warehouses.
Love that. And where can people find out more about you folks?
Yes, so they can visit our website. It's one, which is spelled out, ONE, warmcoat.org. And on the website, you can find a place near you. You can search by zip code and find a coat drive happening near you. There are thousands of them on the map right now. You can also register to hold a coat drive. You can find out how to donate or get involved. And you can also email us at info@onewarmcoat.org if you have questions.
That was Beth Amodio.